kicking out my entitled brother and his pregnant girlfriend after they disrespected my disabled husband. I, 28F, know this might sound awful, but please hear me out. My younger brother, 24M, is the only son in our family, and in an Asian household, that often means he was treated better than my older sister and me while we were growing up. Our father passed away just before my brother graduated high school, and our mother, whom we love dearly, decided that my sister and I should cover his college tuition since our father had paid for ours until we graduated. For context, I don't make a fortune. My salary is above average, but I'm not exactly rolling in money, and I work long hours. The economy isn't great these days. Now, I'm married. I proposed to my amazing husband, 28M, whom I've known since middle school, after he suffered a terrible accident that left him with severe motor skill loss. He was in a coma for 2 weeks, and I promised myself that if he woke up, I would marry him. So I did, because I keep my word. Due to the accident, he also lost his job, but he still has income from investments, and his parents, who are incredibly wealthy, gifted him a property to rent out. Despite not facing financial hardship, he struggled deeply with depression after losing his career and the active outdoor lifestyle he loved. He couldn't walk for nearly a year, and even now, he can't stand or walk for long periods, even with a cane. He was in a dark place until about a month before our wedding. Now, nearly a year into our marriage, I can finally see the light returning to his eyes. He's found a passion for cooking and baking, so much so that we remodeled our kitchen to fit a larger oven and store all his baking equipment. He's even researching how to get a permit to start his own bakery, and I love watching him regain his enthusiasm, even if it means eating sourdough bread for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 3 weeks straight. Back to my brother. He and his girlfriend got pregnant by accident. He's currently job hunting, having graduated 2 years ago. He started a business right after college, but yeah, you probably know how that goes. It failed, after he spent almost all the money our father left to us, his 3 children, as inheritance. That caused a rift between him and my oldest sister. I don't blame my sister for being furious because he also spent her share of the inheritance after paying his tuition. And if you know anything about Asian families, you know the oldest daughter has it the hardest. He's also not really on great terms with our mother because of the unplanned pregnancy. She's not exactly against his girlfriend, but she's not thrilled either. However, he's still the golden child, and that's why she asked me, her newlywed daughter, to let my brother and his girlfriend stay in our house until he finds a job. Since I live in a big city, she assumed it'd be easier for him to get hired here. I asked my husband if I could rent one of the rooms he owns to accommodate them. My husband, being the absolute angel he is, said that since what he owned aren't exactly suitable for long-term living with a baby, he'd see if he could remodel one. They could move in once it was ready and only start paying rent once my brother got a job. In the meantime, they could stay in our upstairs guest room. I've read stories about situations like this being recipes for disaster, and damn, I should have listened. They moved in sometime before Christmas. Both of them did the bare minimum around the house. They washed their own dishes, but only the small ones like plates, glasses, and bowls, leaving the pots and pans for us to clean. They did their own laundry, but that's it. They would raid our pantry and fridge without ever replacing anything. Some days, I didn't even get to try my husband's baked goods because they ate the ones he had specifically set aside for me. After working back-to-back shifts at the hospital, I'm a resident, by the way, I'd come home to a sink full of dishes I knew my husband hadn't used, and I'd have to clean them. They never vacuumed the second floor where they stayed, never helped take out the trash, even though they constantly overfilled it. I usually pitched in when I had the time, but I had seen my husband, struggling with his cane, hauling out the trash multiple times as soon as I got home. I don't expect them to clean the entire house, but watching my husband limp around, doing dishes and taking out the garbage while they sat around doing nothing? That was just plain disrespectful, especially considering they were living here rent-free. Naturally, I confronted them, though I kept it polite. I told my brother, if you can't even take out the trash, how do you expect to hold down a job? And to my sister, who's pregnant, I said, you may not be able to do heavy work, but you can at least wash the dishes you use. You both have 2 hands, clean up after yourselves. Teamwork makes the dream work, after all. To their credit, they made some effort after that. Now, they wash their own dishes, though they don't bother putting them back in the drawers. But hey, baby steps. And then came the breaking point. During Chinese New Year, my mother and oldest sister came to visit. My husband went all out with his cooking. I cleaned the entire house and prepared the other guest room for my family. That's when I realized the second floor hadn't been vacuumed in ages. My brother and his girlfriend didn't come out of their room until my family arrived. We exchanged greetings, gave my mother her New Year's bow, and sat down for dinner. That's when all hell broke loose. My brother, with confidence straight out of his colon, actually said it was time for my husband to get a real job again because he can walk now. He added that he's younger but working hard to find a job. Then he really added the words "no offense," before saying cooking is a weird hobby for a big guy, 6" 3 foot, like him, and also he doesn't really have the talent for it. His girlfriend chimed in, saying she feels like my husband is more feminine than she is because he takes care of the house and cooks better than she does. Of course, the bar is somewhere below Satan's throne if she's the standard. She even said she and my brother keep asking my husband why he's still at home when it's been years since his accident and that I'll leave him soon if he keeps being cooped up in the house. She then whined about how my husband always just smiled at them and never responded. I think even my brother realized she'd messed up because he quickly backpedaled, saying it was only once or twice. I just stood up, took both their plates, and told them to pack up and leave. I couldn't even look at my husband. I was so pissed and ashamed of them. It took every ounce of self-control not to curse them out right then and there. They said I was being too sensitive over harmless comments. My mother tried to defuse the situation, saying my brother and his girlfriend meant well, that their comments didn't come from a bad place, and even pointed out that my husband didn't seem offended, so she asked, "Why ruin a good day?" which I ignored. I was so fed up that I even handed them my car keys just to get them out of the house. They left with my oldest sister after giving my husband a half-hearted apology. Later, she told me they spent a night at a motel before eventually going back to my mother's house. The next day, my older sister stopped by to pick up my brother's belongings. She found the whole situation amusing and was the only one who actually thought I did the right thing. My husband, on the other hand, said he appreciated that I stood up for him, but he never took their words to heart. He knows how much I love and support what he's doing, so he gently suggested that I might have been a little too harsh. Then my mother got involved. She told me their behavior wasn't a good enough reason to kick out my struggling brother and pregnant girlfriend, really emphasizing the pregnant part. She insisted that I could have just scolded him, like I did over the dishes. Apparently, he even went and complained to her about that too. I still don't think I overreacted or that I'm in the wrong. Honestly, I'm still pissed off. But now I'm second-guessing myself, especially since even my husband was so laid back about it. So, am I the asshole? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Your brother stole inheritance. He's a thief. He's a lazy who knocked up his girlfriend, doesn't work, is disrespectful of your home and husband when he's staying for free and being a horrible guest. You were too kind and let it go for far too long. You weren't too harsh. Actions/words have consequences. Never lift a finger for your brother ever again. He's entitled because your mother especially, but you've all been enablers. OOP, now that I think about it, you're right. In a way, I also played a role in enabling him. Lesson learned, never again. Thanks for the response. Commenter 2, NTA. Good for you for standing up for your husband and, hopefully, teaching your entitled and lazy brother and his girlfriend a lesson. They need to take responsibility for their choices, especially since they decided to have a child. The audacity of them to act that way while living in your home rent-free is unbelievable. OOP, I should clarify that my brother didn't actually take the car keys, my sister did. She was the one who got them out of the house. So, no worries, the car is safe and sound in my garage. She even filled up the gas tank. Commenter 3, NTA. If your mom feels so strongly about it, she can take them in. Your priority should be protecting your space and your immediate family, meaning your husband, not your brother and his girlfriend, who probably got pregnant on purpose. Keeping toxic people around could set your husband back in his recovery. Just imagine the things they might have said to him when you weren't there. Forget them. OOP, that's my biggest worry as well. I actually kind of interrogated my husband about this, like, did they say something while I was not present and why wouldn't he tell me they said shit behind my back? He said he was too lazy to speak due to speech difficulties. However, he did tell him off once, kind of. He said he was laughing when he said it, but what he said was pretty funnily scathing, and he guessed it was why my brother brought it up during family dinner. Commenter 4, info, if your father's will clearly stated which portion goes to who, could you and your sister sue him for theft? NTA. OOP, no specific amount, but we agreed to split it equally. My sister could but didn't, and I couldn't because I used my inheritance to pay his tuition. There's no way I would give them my hard-earned cash. I got the feeling she'll demand something else if I were to use that money, since she already told us to pay his tuition because ours was paid by her and my father, so I'd rather not have it. It was actually meant to fund our wedding because my father wouldn't be there and it was left to my mother. She's supposed to give it to us when we get married. I just told her that I was in no position to pay for his tuition, so just use that money. Commenter 5, NTA, let your mother house them if she's so concerned. They would not be welcomed even as guests in my home again if they pulled that on me. Update. Hey everyone. I never expected to write an update to my previous story, but I woke up this morning to an overwhelming number of responses. I just want to say thank you to everyone who took the time to read my long post and respond with kindness. Last night, my husband and I actually sat down and read through the comments together. He was really touched by all the supportive messages, and even blushed a little when people called him a saint. It was adorable, but let's keep that between us. I tried my best to reply to everyone, but after an hour, I had to give up. My brain and fingers just couldn't keep up. I labeled this as an update, but a big part of it will be addressing some of the most common questions from my last post. Did I get my car back? My brother never took my car, my sister did. She drove them to a motel, and my car is now safe and sound in my garage. Why did I let him stay in my house? To be honest, I've never been particularly close to my family, at least not by typical Asian family standards. You can probably guess why. I went to a boarding high school, so I was already living away from home as a teenager. Even during my college years, I only visited a handful of times, usually just for a few days around New Year's. During semester breaks, I'd find part-time jobs just to avoid going back. I also kept my contact with them pretty minimal. Growing up, I only knew my brother as a spoiled mama's boy, but he had never really directed anything toward me or crossed any major lines before. In fact, I think after my father, I was the person he was most cautious around, since I was the one who repeatedly scolded him and made him apologize to our mother or oldest sister after our father passed away. That's why I never expected him to do or say something so outrageous. He also got good grades from a respectable college, so I assumed he'd get a job in no time. Prior to my mother asking me to let him stay, she actually asked me to fund his wedding. Snowball's chance in hell. Even when she said it didn't need to be a big one, still hell no. It'll be easier to split her hair into 7 different parts than making me pay for it. That's why I compromised to avoid a long, dragging series of nagging and grumbling by letting him stay until he got a job. That's one of the biggest missteps I made. 3. Why did I agree to pay his tuition? Why did I let him take my share of the inheritance? I didn't exactly pay for his tuition. As I've mentioned, our father left an inheritance. I told my mother to use my share to pay my brother's tuition. My thought process at that time was that she'd ask for something in return if I ever touched that money, so I'd rather not. If she thinks sending us to school is transactional, then I assumed everything else would be, too. I never considered that money mine, so no loss for me. However, I actually needed to avoid her for a few months after my brother got into college because the inheritance was intended to fund our weddings in the future. She gave in rather quickly after I went MIA, though. I did sit him down, made him apologize and promised he'd pay it back to our oldest sister after he failed his businesses. But it wasn't my place to forgive or scold him because I had consented to my mother, which equals him, I guess, using my share. Thinking about it, I should have at least told him for my sister to slap. 4. Why does my husband, as some of you put it, have no spine? Excuse me? My husband literally has titanium in his spine, both physically and figuratively. Kidding, kind of. I know I didn't go into much detail about his side of things because I was more focused on what led up to the situation and my actions rather than the aftermath or his perspective. In my mind, my post was about what I did and why, not necessarily how my husband reacted. That being said, I did ask him right after that dinner if he really stayed silent and why he never mentioned how those two had been insulting him. He was actually pretty offended that I believed my brother and his girlfriend when they claimed he didn't respond at all. Turns out, he did tell them off, once, on New Year's, when I was on call. Yes, life sucks. He said something along the lines of, "Bro, even when we're both unemployed, I'm still richer than you. I have a doctor for a wife who proposed to me when I could do nothing but blink. My life is fine. Just get a job." That's my paraphrased version because he couldn't remember exactly how he said it. Apparently, he was laughing when he said it, which is probably why my brother didn't take him seriously, but maybe it still stung. That could explain why my brother threw those jabs during dinner. But honestly, imagining my husband saying that while laughing? That's terrifying. Laughing just makes it worse. Kind of hot, though, but that's TMI. As for why he didn't tell me about it, he said he never took their words to heart and didn't think it was worth mentioning. Since the accident, he still struggles with certain pronunciations, so he didn't want to waste the effort on them. He actually compared their comments to the husky next door howling, annoying, but just part of their nature. So why bother? Still, I told him to let me know next time someone disrespects him. That way, I can finally put my elementary school taekwondo training to good use. Don't expect much, I only made it to yellow belt. Honestly, though? I think he's happier about what I did than he lets on. Don't ask me why. 5. Why am I enabling him? Like I said in one of my replies, I did think about it, and I think me avoiding my family as much as possible can be considered enabling him. In my defense, I'm not his parent, so it's not my job to parent him, but I do take accountability for not whacking him enough growing up. That's probably why he's got some screws loose. That's the end of Q&A session that I made myself. Now, it's only been a week since CNY, and not much has happened. The most notable thing would be, I've got my brother and mother blocked on both my and my husband's phones, with consent, of course, after she tried to contact him separately yesterday, asking about the room we intended to renovate. The renovation is still happening because he already contacted his parents, but there are other people who probably need and deserve it, so he'll just rent it out to someone else later. I just blocked her in his phone without replying when he told me about it. He actually kept asking if it's really okay to cut off my family completely like that while reassuring me that he's okay and not affected in the slightest every time this topic is being brought up. That's why I was second-guessing myself. But fret not. With the power of the Great Wall of China my husband's ancestors built and the turtle ship my ancestors built, I've already guarded my mind, heart, and soul to never backpedal on my decision. I'll just think of both my mother and brother as that strand of hair you find on your butt. It's there, but you don't need it. It'll feel even better after plucking it. I haven't bothered to ask my sister about my brother and his girlfriend, so I have no idea what's going on with them. But as some of you pointed out, not my problem anymore. I did hear that my mother called my boy crazy for prioritizing my husband over my family, but honestly? I'm her daughter, so where do you think I got it from? After reading all the responses to my last post, my husband and I had a lot of conversations, reflecting on our relationship from both of our perspectives. I apologized again and even asked him if he ever considered leaving me after everything, because let's be real, that whole fiasco did suck for him. He just looked at me and asked if I remembered telling him to just get fat after I proposed with a ring that was too big, because I had bought the same size as our couple ring. Yes, it's an Asian thing, and yes, some of us are sappy like that, don't judge. It was just a few days after he woke up, and he said, if you took a step forward to stay with me when I could do absolutely nothing, why would I even think of leaving you when you're doing everything in your power to stand by me now? I might make mistakes, and to some people, it might not seem like enough, but to him, it's more than enough. We'll always find a way to fix things. Just like how he ate a lot during his recovery so his finger would finally fit that ring, he said he'll pick up my slack. So really, what's the problem? Yeah, I bawled my eyes out. And now I'm taking sick leave because they're super swollen. LOL, kidding. Not yet, anyway. I know I talk too much, but before I go, I just want to say this: if anyone out there finds themselves in a similar situation, know that it's normal to struggle with standing up for yourself. It's okay if it takes time. Handling difficult situations isn't easy, it's messy, uncomfortable, and rarely as simple as people make it seem. But if you do decide to push through, that process of standing up for yourself is what adds to your strength as a person. You might make mistakes, but if you fix them and learn from them, that's growth. And that's something to be proud of. So keep your chin up, and hang in there. Now for Real, thanks for reading. I hope you guys have a great year ahead of you. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, my guess is you are Korean since you said turtle ship? Anyways, I wanted to fill you with Chinese auntie/mom energy which would chastise your brother for his poor rude behavior. I'm pretty sure Korean aunties and moms have it too. Lots of Asian men do the majority of the cooking for their families and do it really well too. I'm in a brain injury Discord server, so I know about having to relearn everything and having difficulty speaking. Glad that he's found a hobby and passion. Some of our male members also love to bake too. OP, that's right. I'm of Korean descent. From what I've seen, both online and in real life, older generations of Korean boy moms can be some of the worst. They genuinely believe their sons are heaven sent and should have everything handed to them on a silver platter. No matter what he does, they'll defend him, and heaven forbid he ever lift a finger around the house, even if his wife is about to give birth. Of course, not every Korean mother with a son is like this, but a lot of them are. I'm a Gyeopo, ethnic Korean born and raised outside of Korea, and even though it's been decades since my mom left Korea, she still acts this way. Commenter 2, if only we could all handle family drama with such grace and humor. You're not just protecting your peace, you're building an impenetrable fortress of happiness around you both. Keep being the boundary-setting superhero you are. Here's to a new year with less drama, more laughter, and zero hair-related incidents. OP, wow, such high praise. I don't know if I deserve it, but my cheeks hurt from smiling too much. May all your kind wishes come back to you 100-fold. Commenter 3, OP's husband sounds like the most unbothered guy ever. Then again, after surviving literal life-threatening circumstances, dealing with difficult in-laws probably feels like a minor inconvenience. OOP, it just hit me after reading this. He never said anything like this, but if it's really the case, I think I can see why he's so chill about the whole ordeal. Thank you for this reminder. I'll make sure that he'll never find himself in the same situation moving forward. Commenter 4, wow, your mom truly has such a thick skin to be able to ask your hubby about still letting your brother stay in the renovated room after all that LOL. Amazing. OP, you and your hubby sound like true relationship goals. Love, wishing you both the best, and hopefully hubby's bakery dreams come true soon. Commenter 5, wow, what a journey. First of all, definitely NTA. You've been handling an incredibly tough situation the best way you can, and honestly, your updates are more gripping than my last binge watch. You've set boundaries like a pro, and it's great to see that your husband has your back, adding his own brand of humor and, well, titanium-grade resilience. The way you've navigated the drama with your brother and the larger family dynamics is seriously impressive. It's clear that you're not just protecting your peace but also prioritizing your relationship with your husband through all the chaos, and that's exactly what matters most. Also, that strand of hair on your butt analogy? Hilarious. But in all seriousness, I love that you're standing firm in putting your family, you and your husband, first, without letting guilt or manipulation get in the way. Keep holding your ground, trust yourself, and don't let anyone make you second-guess your decisions. You're doing an amazing job, and your commitment to each other is what truly counts. Here's to a new year filled with less drama and more happiness. Cheers to strong boundaries and standing by them.